Happy St. Patrick's Day. That's what we say in Ireland. And on today's show, I talk about why we pick the country that we come to. Welcome to the Dream Interpretation Podcast with Michael and Sandy.
Hello, everybody. Notice we're both in green. We're here to celebrate St. Patrick's Day.
My green looks blue on the camera, though. Anyway, what our show is about, interpreting dreams and how we can use dreams to tell you what your mission is in life, why you came to the planet, why you came to your particular part of the planet, what it is you're meant to be doing, what your gifts are, how you're meant to help other people, and all the various different things that are going to help you discover who you are in the process.
Yeah, so it's exciting today because it is St. Patrick's Day, and we hardly ever get to do a radio show on St. Patrick's Day. But Michael, before we start, what does Ireland mean in a dream? And maybe a little bit about St. Patrick's Day.
Well, in fact, we have done a show on St. Patrick's Day before. That's how long we're on the air. But everybody thinks that their own country is something wonderful, means something wonderful in a dream. Typically, where you're from just simply means your roots, where you're from, your place of origin, your childhood, really, in another way. But what would Ireland mean to other people? And if you ask an Irish person, they will usually say, oh, the land of saints and scholars, or some other crazy stuff, because we're taught things like that, in our history. But what it means to other people, to answer your question directly, is conflict, because we have a constant conflict between the north of Ireland and the south of Ireland, the Republic of Ireland and British occupied north of Ireland. And if you're from Ireland, you'll be very well aware of that, but it'll never cross your mind that that's possibly what it is. But if you look at the news across the world, Ireland shows up generally outside St. Patrick's Day because of issues there. Think about the peace process that was brokered by the American government and France and everybody as well, which is great. Like, that's a huge thing. Why? Because of the conflict.
Yeah, but it's so funny because St. Patrick's Day has to do with shamrocks and green, lots of green. So you want to talk just a tad bit about that.
Well,
Maybe even who St. Patrick was.
It's a very green country. St. Patrick was a slave. Was captured by the Irish and brought to Ireland and treated as a slave for years and years, and then escaped, and he became, he went up in the ranks in the Catholic Church, and he was told to come back to Ireland. In fact, he was told to come back to Ireland in a dream before he was ever asked to do it. And then he came back and he challenged the Druids, who were really the ones in charge in Ireland on the day. He lit a fire on the hill of Tara. You're not allowed to do that. It was the king was the one that lit the fires first. And so he got dragged over by the Druids to explain himself, let's say. But he was very good at magic, very good at things. And he wowed the king so much that he gave him permission to convert as many people in Ireland as he wanted to. The king never converted himself, but he gave him that permission, which is astounding because really it was a fast way to an execution, you would have thought. Anyway, it's interesting. It's in our history, well documented. But yeah, a slave, started as a slave, at least in the country.
Anyways, Michael, it looks like you've got some interesting things to share with us about why we come to Earth. I'm going to let you begin this fabulous journey.
Yeah, I decided to write something just because it was St. Patrick's Day. I was like, write something about places of birth and so on. But isn't it funny how we anchor into our place of birth? I often wonder how much DNA we share with salmon. We always think fondly of home. Sure, why wouldn't we? The food is nicer. All the food. The bacon is real bacon, not the excuse served here. The people are friendlier. Drivers are more courteous on the road. The list of illusions goes on. I say illusions, not because your memory is wrong, but because you're not from Earth. We get a veil applied so we forget who we are, and then we wake up with amnesia in a corner of a strange world, and that corner imprints on us, just like a baby duck. This world is so strange that we view other parts of the world as completely alien. We couldn't imagine living in them. We couldn't imagine eating the food or following the mad customs. You know them, the mad ones, not like yours where everything is normal. Meanwhile, they look at our part of the world and think the same. Mind you, some people look at other parts of the world and they think if we could ethnically cleanse that area, we could move our own people and customs in there. But the people already imprinted there are not having that. This is ours. We will defend it to the death, shouting their defiance in a language that also is imprinted on them because that's the one they speak in their corner of the world. Isn't it funny to think you can be trained to hate a people and culture? This happens all the time. Nobody is born hating another culture. That shit is learned. But you can really get into it and hate with such venom. It is interesting to think that without the veil, you would remember your past lives in that country and you would cherish those memories, the customs, the food, and the people with the same relish that you cherish where you are from now. We need to belong. It's part of our DNA. And you do belong, but only for a while. You are sampling different cultures in different lifetimes. Sometimes a past lifetime can bleed through and you remain enamored with a foreign culture, but you don't know why. We come here to increase our awareness bit by bit, lifetime by lifetime. And when we are restored to a certain level, when we have roughly recovered 90% of our light, we don't come back here. At that level, it is deemed safe to purge the remaining 10% of darkness solely in the spirit world. Our darkness or fear in any one area is no longer strong enough to take us backwards again. Our light will prevail. When we reach this milestone, we review all our earth lives together. Each one was already reviewed when it ended, but now we review all of them at once. Your mix of cultures will be unique. But in this review, the intention is that you let go of all remnants of darkness, that is hatred, anger, shame, guilt, etc. Let go of all limiting beliefs. Reconcile your lifetimes lived in opposing cultures, where you hated the thing you later became, or indeed once were. Imagine you spend one lifetime lobbing rocks at another culture. You might even die fighting a war against them. You were then born into that other culture, the one you hated. You see the rocks that you threw, pick them up, and lob them back, all the while claiming that they started it. Earth lives are balanced. If you sow hatred in a lifetime, you have to come back here to undo it. You can't leave jagged edges. And that includes coming back to forgive those who wronged you. You will chase people across thousands of years for that chance to forgive and let go of your feud. It doesn't matter if they don't let it go. They can keep all the hatred they want in their hearts. But for you to be finished with this plane, you need to forgive. That's the way to raise your energy. And when you do, you'll realize that the person most affected by your inability to forgive was you. Forgive your enemies. Does that sound familiar? But more importantly, forgive yourself. You do not need your enemy's forgiveness. You only need yours. But reaching that feminine energy state of forgiveness is so hard that we seek forgiveness from others before we are able to forgive ourselves. We endure penance before we can forgive ourselves. It's that hard. What raises the planet? Love or hatred? Does hatred, for any reason whatsoever, raise the planet into light? Can the planet become a better place because of the hatred you add to it? Never. If someone is going to stone you to death and you hate them for that action, you will need to work on forgiving and releasing that hate in a future lifetime. The path into light is an individual one. Nobody walks into the light with you. You have to do it on your own. It requires non-attachment to outcomes and maintaining a state of love. If life drags you down, what is your reaction? Do you climb up out of the gutter and feel love again? Life shows you over and over that you can recover. Let's take an extreme example. Suppose your 7-year-old daughter dies. That's going to flatten you. And you can stay flattened and bitter for the rest of your life for the years that were lost. But here is what can also happen. After a period of grieving, and it could be years, you learn to cherish the 7 years that you had together. You become thankful for those. You use them to lift your spirits and you stop focusing on what never was. Now I can hear you saying, but Michael, you don't know if you could do that yourself. And that's true. I do not. But I do know we are not from here. Since my near-death experiences, I see the spirit world. I talk to spirits and I teach others how to do it too. I spoke to my mother right after her funeral, and I spoke to my sister during her funeral. She was in great form, as we say in Ireland. That makes it easier for me, for sure. As I said at the start, we come here to increase our awareness. I know why, and I know how we do it. I know the uniquely individual part that dreams play in that. I've helped so many people step into their light, to use their gifts to help themselves and to help others. Earth is a wonderful system of contrasts that you can't get anywhere else in the universe. We use those contrasts to force our growth. We use difficulties in life to take an honest look at ourselves. We can't ask for help to remove limitations if we deny having them. We need to see them, and life here lets you see them. Our country of origin, the society and family that shaped us, are instrumental in setting us up on a path of discovery. What have you learned about yourself in this lifetime from the blinkered perspective that is unique to your part of the world?
Wow, Michael, that was absolutely beautiful. I really, really enjoyed that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I find it funny when I start writing, I never know where it's going to go.
Yeah, that was awesome. I find it interesting you did that for St. Patrick's Day, when the country of Ireland, for so many people, when they have it in their dream, is about conflict, and you covered why it's important.
Well, it's an easy time to think about origins and why we pick a particular country. Like I said there, we pick a blinkered perspective, but we don't know we have a blinkered perspective. Hopefully, we wake up at some part in our life and realize that we do indeed have a blinkered perspective.
Yep. Anyways, I'm ready to dive into some dreams. How about you?
Do it.
All righty. So the first dream is titled Oceanside Airplane Crash, and this is from Jesse. I'm at the ocean standing on the beach when I look up and see an airplane coming in for a landing. I see it bouncing around and realize it's going to crash. Some people start running over a sand dune towards the airplane to help. The ocean water surges. I'm in waist deep. The plane crash must have caused a tidal wave. I'm pushing through the water to go help at the airplane crash site. Okay, Michael, this is starting out exciting.
Well, airplane landings typically represent your arrival on the planet, your birth. We say that all the time. But this one is different. So I asked Jessie where the plane was in her field of vision. She said it was in front of her, which is what I expected her to say. So this dream is about Jessie's ability to see other people's difficult births. And her spiritual viewpoint allows her to go help those people.
Wow, that's really cool. What about the ocean being waist deep there?
Well, she goes waist deep into it to go help the people that had the difficult landing.
Ah, so she's going to be fully in, two
And
feet in to help them.
the ocean represents spirituality. So she's going to use her spiritual gifts in order to get to and help the people.
Oh, fabulous. So continuing. Then I see a funeral service happening by the ocean front in this town. There's a group of mourners, and I see someone leading the service. It's bright and beautiful out. Walking through the mourners are tourists, and they clearly don't know what's going on and are walking through the back of the group looking around. I take a moment and observe what an interesting intersection of things going on.
All right. Jessie has the ability to see how a person's start to life has killed various aspects of their nature. That's what the funeral service is about. But it's not all bad. It is bright and beautiful out, after all, in the dream. We have someone leading the service and we have groups. So Jessie is a spiritual leader in this area. She sees how someone was impacted by their start to life. She sees the aspects that were killed off by the hard start. And she also sees how the person is now a tourist in their own life. They've lost connection with who they are because of the trauma. I really love that symbol of the tourists among the funeral goers. This is how it works. We bury our pain so well, we forget that we even had pain. This is true. The mourners, the tourists, and the deceased all represent the person she's working on, her client. When I channeled on it, I got that while she can see all the detail, her healing is very specific. She just lifts a layer of the issue. People are only ready to heal what they are ready to heal. If you don't believe that, I invite you to forgive all your enemies right now. Forgive anyone who has ever wronged you. Okay, I'm not inviting you to do that. I'm just making the point that we can't be thrown into a healed position. Going back to what I said at the start of the show, we can't be thrown into a position of peace either. We have to do the work needed to get to that position. Jessie's skill is in determining the layer or layers her client is capable of releasing. I asked her about this, and she said that this is exactly how it works for her in her healing. She tunes into the person to see the trauma, then her angels work on the trauma or a layer of the trauma, and she talks the client through a level of understanding what happened, how it impacted them at the time, and how it still impacts them today. And finally, what changes to expect from the healing. And it is super, super fast. And so that's really what all the different players in that dream, the deceased, the service leader, the mourners, and the tourists all represent. It's fantastic. It's a lovely dream.
That is an amazing dream. What a very special gift. That's so cool. Okay, let's move on to our next dream. And this one's titled Embarrassing Stay in a House of Other People. And this is from Daryl. It was first in a house, in a group of houses, a kind of housing estate, weekend house like. And those people were going somewhere. I don't know how we got to know them. In any case, we moved there, and I have all my belongings with me. We thought we would live there, even if it was for a short while. And I take all sorts of stuff with me to that house. We'll install ourselves there in the different rooms. We want to go eat, and then it is raining. And then we see a car coming back and parking in the mud of a small parking lot. The people are back. An annoying situation because, of course, they are not satisfied. So, okay, sorry, that was wrong. And for those people, it is also something unexpected. And they still have to go do the shopping. And I say, we will help. Or while you're doing that, I will already move some of it back. They see that we are accommodating. What a very strange dream, Michael.
So, this arriving at a house, that's another birth symbol. Birth is so important in our dreams. We see it all the time. And on the show, we often point it out, but here it's really important. Think about this. Now, if this is birth and he arrives, and then the owners of the house, so this is mom and dad, show back up and they're not happy that you're there. This is already painting a pretty bad picture.
Yeah.
We know
And he's got all of his belongings with him.
of
But it's
course,
only a weekend house.
he's moved in. They just had a baby. And yeah, sad. So it should have been fun. It should have been fun. And you know, I love how it is. Like, and I asked him about mom, what was she like? And he said, yeah, mom felt trapped from having kids. And also that he had to make accommodations for mom at the start of his life, not the other way around. At least that's from his perspective, right? But mom wasn't happy with his presence. And we're going to see this more and more in the dream. And I'm going to look at the little part where he says, we see a car coming back and parking in the mud of a small parking lot. That particular part, the parking in the mud, says that he has an elimination system issues. And they're connected to mom saying that his presence interfered with her goals in life. And we can break that up by saying cars are about striving towards goals. Mud is about the elimination system. It's the owner of the house coming back and parking in the mud. And so we can put it all together. And so when I said that, you know, he does have elimination system issues, doesn't know where they're from, but knows he has them for a very long time. So it's great when we see this in a dream. It shows, look, here is the start. Here's the difficult start. And here is an issue that you have going on in your life because of that difficult start.
This is very interesting. All right. And then what is shopping? They want to do shopping. And we say, well, help.
So this is part of the connection with the car and striving for goals. Shops in dreams are about achieving your needs, meeting your needs. And he is saying to her, I'll help you in some way, or you can go meet your own needs and I'll do other things. I'll get out of your way. You know, but basically not a good thing whatsoever. It should be like nothing else is more important than you, Daryl. You're it. That's what we want from our parents.
Wow. That's intense. Okay. We're going to continue on. And then there was another scene of a kind of washing machine. That water has to be heated for tea, but then it turns out that the water had been boiled and the machine is broken. So yes, I say I haven't touched it.
The tea was a bigger part of that scene. And tea's about sharing. And Daryl said, Mom was happy when I was away. So this is terrible.
Ooh.
Like, so if he was away on summer camp or something like that, she was thrilled.
Oh,
And she never wanted to share. Again, tease about sharing. So she never wanted to share. For instance, he remembers coming home from summer camp, super excited. He's a little kid and wanted to share what had happened on the 10 days that he is away. Like, that's a long time to be away for a little kid. And her reaction to his excitement was to say, "You must be tired from camp. You have to go sleep." She had no interest. And of course, he didn't need to sleep, but he knew that's how she was. And it was really, really a sad thing, because it's like, I know she has no interest in me. Really, we see the worst in people from looking at dreams, I suppose. And Dad wasn't great either. He made Daryl go to his room when he came home. That was just the default. And Mom would try find a middle ground between Dad and him, and she never could. His understanding was that she viewed all men on his dad's side of the family as the same. And his understanding was because that's what she would say. But he is also a man on Dad's side of the family. And I don't really like when people comment like that. The child knows they're being stabbed, but the parent can say, "Oh, I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about all men, but not you." So if they're challenged, they can deny it. But of course they are. And of course the child knows that they're talking about them. It's really cruel.
it is very cruel. This poor kid. Oh my goodness. Let's continue. And then I had an old image and treated it carefully. It turned out to be a Buddha that consisted of different pieces. And when we laid it flat, it fell apart. And then we had to put it back together.
So this goes back to what I said at the start, that sometimes a past life bleeds into this one. And this is true for Daryl, very true for Daryl. He was a Buddhist monk in a past life. He lived in that culture where it's the perfect thing to do in that culture. And like Buddhists, their philosophy is to go to bed with no anger, no loose karma left hanging around. You've forgiven everybody who wronged you during the day. That's the goal. That's like how they intend to do it. Now, if you live in that culture and that's the way you're raised, then that's perfect. But he tries to do that in this culture. And he, in fact, keeps going to India and living in an ashram, trying to do that in this culture. He's not meant to. It's not what he's meant to do at all in this lifetime. But that other lifetime is encroaching on this one. And he's kind of adopted the goals that he had set himself in that particular one. It's never good when that happens. We see it clearly in his life if you've ever talked to him and know him, but we see it in the dream too.
Is that why it fell apart?
Well, he sees it as something that he has to restore,
I gotcha.
and he
Put it back
doesn't.
together.
Yeah.
Mhm. Interesting. Okay, let's continue. And then we happen next. I want to grab one of my boxes, which is full of books and everything, and was quite heavy. So I had some trouble with it. But I was helped right away, and there was some talking back and forth, and that was like a miracle that actually went constructively.
That's sad. The last thing he would ever expect is to be
Is to
helped.
be helped.
Yeah. And that's what this is about. And he does have a counseling gift. He brought it with him. That's what the books in the boxes represent. The boxes is the womb. So he brought that gift with him. And I just remembered, like, going back to the last part of the Buddhist thing, one of his goals in this lifetime is to avoid emotional struggle through detachment. And of course, that's that lifetime, not this lifetime. We're meant to get mired in the culture we're in and follow the customs and follow the viewpoints and have that limited perspective of the culture we're in, not a different culture.
Interesting. So let's finish it. This is such a sad dream. And then it's somewhere with a young guy with whom I find myself in a snowy landscape. We actually lied down somewhere, and I see at least his upper body was bare, and he was so uncomfortable in that I say, "It's okay." I'd already noticed that he had a predisposition to be gay, but he didn't really acknowledge it yet. But I said, "It's okay," to my own surprise, because I've always seen myself as straight. So it's something new for me, too. And in the immediate vicinity on the right, there are twins who also seem to be something with each other. But then somewhere there was an establishment of a harmonious relations. And that's the end of his dream.
All right. So with the
Michael.
snow and everything, we see that Mom was cold. Even at the end of her life, she said children were a disappointment. Like, imagine that.
Oh,
She's in her 90s and it's like, okay, yeah, thank you for sharing. Um, and he said that with his mom, he had to be a certain way. The way he put it was, it's like an amputation. I had to amputate part of myself. anger and sadness could not be expressed at all. So she never got to the real cause of any issue. She never heard the real cause of any issue that he had. But the gay guy in the dream is that Daryl doesn't like to feel exposed because it's the chest area that's exposed, the upper part, the heart. And this again is precisely because mom didn't accept him as he was. So in the dream, he's accepting this other guy as he is. And often we will see gay men represent a man who's in touch with their feminine side. They don't have difficulty expressing how they feel or their emotions and so on. And so it's quite a positive thing for those very reasons. And so it's quite good trying to heal what it does, but that's excellent to get to that point in the dream.
Is he doing some kind of work? Is that why this dream? Because this dream is really pointed. It's showing
Yeah,
all kinds of
he is.
very specific issues that he had with mom that he may not have even been aware of, or possibly didn't even think of. And I like the interest thing of trying to go back and live the life of being a Buddhist monk. I find that interesting.
Yeah, he's cutting the ties that bind with his mom. So it's not even that long. It's like a week, and his dreams have changed, and they're showing all the issues. And quite a shock to him. It's not so much that he doesn't know about this. Clearly, he knows about this in his life, but to see how deep it goes and how much his dreams today are hammering about issues from like so far back.
Wow. So the question I have is if this old lifetime is bleeding into this one, there must be something there for him to heal. Is that why it's in this dream?
He's meant to let it go. Um,
Oh,
it's the disconnect of like a difficult start, and then it's what do I need to do? What do I need to do? And of course, mom doesn't want him to share how he feels at all. And he lived a life of emotional detachment as a Buddhist monk. So he's like, okay, what if I do that again? What if I can detach myself from outcomes and feeling negative emotions or even absorbing them from other people? So it's kind of a solution that he picked up in childhood that is not a good solution.
ah, what an amazing dream. It really shows a lot, but it is so sad. It's probably one of the saddest dreams I've seen.
I think it's just probably the way I emphasize the issues. But but that's it. We're out of time. We don't even have time to bring Nicole in. I am sorry, Sandy. Sorry, Nicole.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Anyways, I hope everybody has a fabulous week and enjoy St. Patrick's Day and think positively of the Irish. It's their day to celebrate. Anyways, have a great week. Bye.
Bye.